Hey Wargamers, it's time for us to do another tile army list review. Now, if you haven't seen one of these videos before, this is something that I do for my patrons over on Patreon, where I take a list that they send me, I talk about the strengths and weaknesses that I see in that list, and then I provide them with a revised list that makes changes in accordance with those strengths and weaknesses, but also tries to maintain the original concept of the list. And so, no sweeping changes to format or anything like that, just trying to make the list that I get sent a little bit more efficient in my eyes. So that's what we're doing today. It's been a while since we've done one of these, so I'm excited to jump into it. Okay, so this is a 2,000 point list, 3 detachments that is sent to us from a patron who's had some of his lists reviewed before, but basically the idea here is to have a lot of infantry, a lot of kind of scrappy units, and have some synergies where they may present themselves. So that's what we are looking to maintain in this list today. Okay, so we start off with a battalion detachment. It is Tau Sept, as all good battalion detachments should be in this day and age. We have 2 HQ choices here. They are 2 enforcer battlesuits. Right off the bat, this is something that will need to be corrected because we can only have 1 commander per detachment. So max of 3 commanders per list, which this list does follow, but we can only have 1 per detachment as well. So not a huge issue. We can fix that pretty easily, even without making any changes to the list as it is. So, not a big deal. On the first commander, we have 4 cyclic ion blasters, which I think is a fairly good loadout. However, in the past, at least in competitive environments, the 3 cyclic ion blaster advanced targeting system has been a favorite. And so I might look more in that direction here, especially because we are lacking some of that real punch. Having that advanced targeting system on top of that will not only give these commanders more flexibility, but it will also give them a little bit more of a role here, a little bit more of a heavy hitter unit as opposed to just having 4 cyclic ion blasters. So that's something that I will probably change in the revision. The next enforcer here is the Warlord. We want to make sure that we always hit that Warlord trait or that Warlord thing button on the drop-down menu in Battlescribe here to make sure that we indicate that. But he does have through Unity Devastation, a fantastic Warlord trait, almost an auto include, I think. So yeah, we have through Unity Devastation that allows him to point out a target and say, "Hey, you," and everyone else will get -1 to their AP on 6s. So that's pretty darn good. Yes, he has 4 missile pods. The idea here with this guy is that he's going to sit in the back ranks and pick at enemies. I really think that there are probably better outfits for this guy, loadouts for this guy to do that. The 4 missile pods are good. Missile pods are a nice versatile weapon. They have good range, and so especially if your commander is your warlord, having him have that ability to sit back in the back ranks is beneficial. However, if I was going with missile pods, I really would look more at broadsides here, which we do have in this list. And then I would also consider not having my warlord be a commander, just for a little bit more of the sneaky sneak in order to hide that guy. So yes, we will come back to that in the revision. Oh, so I guess in short, I will say missile pods are fine. I would, again, look more towards that more well-defined role of having a cyclic ion blaster or fusion blasters on this guy instead of missile pods, just because that's really what this list is lacking. So, I would go with the cyclic option here instead of missile pods. For troops, we have 3 units of fire warriors, each of them 5-man units, and they're stock. They are as is. For fast attack, we have 3 shield drone units, 7 shield drones each. This is great. Shield drone. I'm never going to try to sell anyone on shield drones again. They sell themselves. For units of 7, though, that's getting to be the size where I really would like to have an ethereal in this list. And I think that taking ethereal would also synergize with some of the other criticisms, or not criticisms, but tweaks that I'm going to be making in this list. And so we'll probably look at that in order to provide a leadership bubble for these drones in order to keep them on the board as long as possible. So 7-man units could benefit from having ethereal for the leadership bubble pretty easily, and so we will look at doing that for them. For heavy support, we have 3 1-man unit of broadsides. These guys are meant to kind of tag along with fire warrior units. They're meant to escort the fire warriors in order to help them hold objectives and that sort of thing. I think that's a really good conceptual idea. I like the idea of broadsides hanging out with their little infantry bros and holding down an objective. It makes a lot of sense fluff wise and conceptually. I like it. However, when we get down to gameplay, I think there's a couple things that are working against us with that. One is the low mobility of broadsides, just not being able to move very quickly, and you're losing your ability to shoot as accurately being heavy weapons. So that's one disadvantage there. Yes, that can be overcome with marker lights, but we'd rather not, deal with that at all. Especially if you're having 3 units, they are likely going to be shooting at different targets. So that can make marker light management difficult. Additionally, here we don't have target locks, which would overcome that disadvantage inherently. Advanced targeting systems, I think, are the better choice in general, because broadsides are going to be standing still a lot. And so having the advanced targeting system is a fantastic choice, especially with the missile loadout that we have, which again is a good choice. However, by splitting our units into 3 instead of having one large unit, we are missing out on opportunities to use things like command and control node that would otherwise benefit the whole unit. So I would look at this more as an opportunity to consolidate these 3 broadsides into a single unit just for that reason. But otherwise, a very good loadout, right? Missiles, advanced targeting system is the way to run broadsides. For the next attachment, we have a Outrider attachment. Again, Tau Sept. All these are going to be Tau Sept. We have a commander in a Cold Star battle suit. This is our 3rd and final commander of the list. He has 4 fusion blasters and vectored maneuvering thrusters. Vectored maneuvering thrusters are a pretty good choice on a Cold Star. Allows him to do a little bit of that jump, shoot, jump, stay out of range, especially when combined with fusion blasters. It gives him ability to get close enough to do some damage, but not suffer all the consequences of giving up position and stuff like that. So I think that's a good choice here. If we were looking at trying to work some more drones in here, particularly marker drones or something, this would be a really good platform for a drone controller. Give up one of those fusion blasters for a drone controller. I've talked about this in videos in the past where I can see the synergy here and why this really can make sense in some lists. And so we might look at doing that in the revision as well. But as is, I think that's a perfectly fine unit choice. All right. So for fast attack, we have 3 units of Piranhas. Each unit has 2 Piranhas in it, all with burst cannon, all with 2 seeker missiles. So that's 12 seeker missiles from the Piranhas. That is a nice little load of seeker missiles. I think Piranhas can be useful in this role, especially considering the added benefits of just bringing drones to the table and the sheer number of seeker missiles you can get on the tabletop with Piranhas. So if you're going to run Piranhas, I think this is the way to do it, and so we'll maintain that. And then finally, we get to the Vanguard detachment. This is Tau Sept. For the HQ, we have Darkstrider. So this is what I mean by being able to switch out the HQ units without changing the list. We can take one of those commanders from the first attachment, switch them with Darkstrider, and not deal with the 3 commander issue. So that's not a problem. Darkstrider is here to hang out with his buddies, the stealth suits, which I think is a pretty good idea. In general, Darkstrider has some challenges, but especially with the changes to stealth suits, I'm intrigued by the option of having Darkstrider just hang out with a lot of stealth suits. Stealth suits are in a really good spot right now. I think they are cheap enough that I think bringing them makes sense, especially given their deployment options and their -1 to hit. So I think there's a lot going on here that could be really useful. So having Darkstrider with this unit of stealth suits, which you can see down below is a unit of 5 stealth suits, is a pretty good way to go. We have Deac Grek, some easy mortal wounds in the list. If you have the points, why not? He's a fun character. And then we have 2 Ghost Keels. Ghost Keels are in a much better position than they were in the past. I'm still not sold on them being able to deliver the output that they need to justify their inclusion. Having Ghost Keels hang out with stealth suits makes sense from a fluff perspective, but they're still just not they're just not the horse that I'm going to bet on in a list. So Ghost Keels, they hurt me, and they need to take some time to make it up to me. So we're probably gonna stay away from the Ghost Keels in the revision. For fast attack, we have 2 units of Pathfinders, each 5-man, all stocked with marker lights as normal. So these are going to be the majority. Actually, the only marker lights we have in the list aside from Darkstrider, right? So we have 10 Pathfinders plus Darkstrider. That's an okay number. Keep in mind, Pathfinders are going to be, getting about, half of their shots through, a little bit more once you actually start hitting with them. So, let's say 6 or 7 hits out of 10. Once we fire all these Pathfinders. So, we can, that's a pretty good number, although I think with the number of Seeker missiles that we have in this list, the number of other things we want to do with marker lights, including boosting the broadside units, I think having a little bit more would be useful, and have them more dispersed, right? It's very easy to take all the marker lights out of this unit because we could just hit those 2 Pathfinders turn 1, and then we have no more issues. If we don't go first and those Pathfinders get killed by our opponent on turn 1, we are pretty much dead in the water with those 12 Seeker missiles that we brought. So we're really banking on those marker lights. So we want to make sure that they're on the table for at least 2 or 3 turns. So we're going to work on ways to try to work more marker lights into the list in a more diffuse way. All right, so that's the list. The things I think this list does well, it has a good focus on commanders and drones. Yes, those are low-hanging fruit, but I think they're almost essential in a strong tile list today. I like the emphasis on Piranhas. Like I said, if you're going to bring Piranhas, you got to bring them in bulk. I think this list does a good job of that. The emphasis on maneuverability with the Pathfinders, the stealth suits, Darkstrider, and yes, again, the Piranhas makes sense too. And then we just have a ton of drones, right? I've already mentioned that the emphasis on shield drones, but keep in mind the Piranhas also have all these drones, right? So we have 12 gun drones on this just from the Piranhas. Which is a nice number of drones, to mess up your opponent's movement if your Piranhas are in close proximity to their lines, but also to provide savior protocols for your characters and your other suits as the game progresses. So I think this list does a lot of that very well. The big issues that I see, or the weaknesses that I see in this list, are just the punching power. We have a fair volume of fire from our fire warriors and our Piranhas and our stealth suits. We don't have a great number of high quality shots, right? We have our few commanders, but that's really about it, in addition to the Seeker missiles. So Seeker missiles are great for Alpha Strike, but you need a little bit more longevity in the list on top of that. So I'm going to be looking at ways to improve the punching power a little bit more on top of those commanders, Seeker missiles, and broadsides in this 2,000 point list. All right, so let's look at the revision. All right, so here's the revision. Again, the main things I'm trying to address here are improving some of the quality of shots, not necessarily relying as much on volume of fire as the previous list did, and then also providing more support to drones in this list by means of a leadership bubble from the Ethereal, and also improving the number and dispersal of marker lights throughout the list so that they're not all locked up in just a couple units of Pathfinders. So, all right, so let's start off again. Same format as before, same same basic essence for this list. Just a few relatively minor changes, I think, that will make a positive difference in its performance. So in that battalion detachment, we have that commander with 3 cyclic ion blasters and advanced targeting system. He also comes with 2 marker drones. This is, again, part of that improving the dispersal of marker lights throughout the list, and you'll see how I've dealt with this marker drone later on, or these 2 marker drones later on. But this is a choice that will make sense in an ITC Nova type of format where there's basically a cap on the number of kill points that you can give up in a game. But this will not be as good of a choice in an environment where that doesn't exist. So if you're playing in a straight book mission or something where kill points are potentially infinite, then probably don't do this particular thing. But if we're working within that type of mindset, then taking the marker drones here makes sense. If we are working in that former environment, then I would consolidate marker drones into fewer units, or just sprinkle more marker lights throughout the list, not in drone form. So that's just an aside there. Regarding the choice of marker drones here, it works in an ITC format, doesn't work as well in a standard format. Darkstrider, again, he came up from that lower detachment up here now in order to spread the commanders out. He seemed like a pretty important part of the list conceptually, so I left him in here, and he will synergize with most of the units in this list actually. So he has some things to bring to the table. The Ethereal is now our Warlord. Instead of putting the Warlord on a commander, which is a high priority target, I have brought an Ethereal in to support all the drones in this list with the leadership bubble, and then also, given him the Warlord and Warlord trait. So he still has 3 unity devastation. He can still point at a guy and say, "Hey, you," but he's not as targetable as the commander is. And he also is going to come with a hover drone in order to get where he needs to be and keep up with those fast-moving drone units. The troops are almost identical to what they were before. Again, 3 5-man fire warrior units. We have 2 marker drones in each of them, and then 2 of the Shez we have marker lights. Didn't quite have points for the 3rd one, but again, this is part of that systematic dispersal of marker drones or marker lights throughout the list. Again, and gives us more saver protocols. This list has a lot of saver protocols, and we need it because we have relatively few high power units that we really want to preserve. Fast attack, we have those 3 drone units, although they are now 8-man units instead of 7-man units. I feel comfortable adding that additional drone in there because we have the Ethereal. For heavy support, we have a single unit of broadsides. Again, this allows us to use command control node, particularly from a Cold Star battlesuit or something, that will help these guys perform a little bit better in a way that we couldn't if they were a 3-man or 3 single-man units. They also come with drones now. Yay, more drones. So we have 4 shield drones and then 2 marker drones. Again, spraying those marker drones out. Okay. For the Outrider detachment, we have a commander in the Cold Star. Again, he has that 3 fusion blasters mixed with the drone controller. That drone controller is really important because it allows those marker drones to be hitting on 4s instead of on 5s. This is going to be really useful, especially early on in the game when the Cold Star isn't going to want to charge out and fly across the board. So this allows him to hang back turns 1, maybe turn 2 with the broadsides and marker drones. Buff the marker drones, buff the broadsides with command control node, do Kal Kal Yun if you need it, that sort of thing. He can still do all of that stuff turn 1, turn 2, and then do his Cold Starry stuff turns 3, 4, 5, and so on. So I like having the drone controller here. Allows us to actually utilize him more fully in every phase of every turn of the game. Fast attack, we have those Piranhas. they are the same Piranhas. They are exactly as they were before. They have their Seeker missiles, and we are going to use those Seeker missiles to enforce the greater good throughout the galaxy. All right, the last detachment here, we have that third commander. He is an Enforcer battlesuit. He has 3 cyclic ion blasters and an advanced targeting system. Again, this is a way to improve the quality of his shots. Even though we're giving up a cyclic ion blaster, we're giving him a little bit more versatility, a little bit more punch, which I think is what this list needs. So we have done that here. For elites, we have Dayak Grek. He's still here. He's still hanging out. There's some things that we could facilitate by losing Dayak Grek, but he is just, he's fun. And when he gets his mortal wounds off, I think that's a really satisfying game mechanic. So, so he's in here, and I need him to actually make that Outrider detachment work. Finally, we have 2 units of stealth suits. They are so instead of just having 1 stealth suits and then the two ghost kills, obviously, it's not. I'm not using all the points from the ghost kills into the stealth suits here, but I gave up those 2 ghost kills, use those points to do those other changes that I've already mentioned, but then have added another unit of stealth suits here. So we have Darkstrider hanging out with 2 units of stealth suits. They have advanced targeting systems now, again, improving some of the quality of shots. We have tons of pulse shots. So having some -1 built in with the stealth suits, I think, is a good thing to really focus on with these guys. Plus, it synergizes well with Darkstrider and his targeting special role. So his structural analyzer, I'm sorry. So having these stealth suits here are going to synergize well with the structural analyzer. They're going to be pretty high quality anti-infantry shots because they're Tau Sept. If you get focus fire off on something, that is going to make them even better. And then because they're stealth suits, they can deploy, outside of your deployment zone, and this gives them really good screening capabilities. So they are going to bring a lot to the table, both right away on turn 1 and also later on in the game, if they're still on the tabletop. So these guys are meant to disrupt enemy movement in coordination with the Piranhas and give you some nice high quality shots where you need them and when you need them. So overall, I think this list would do pretty well. We're staying away from Riptides in this list. Riptides are a staple of the competitive Tau list today, but that's really not what this list was about. So this list wasn't about having Riptides, so we don't have Riptides in here. But we work with a lot of the same models, a lot of the same stuff, just trying to make them a little bit more survivable, a little bit more impactful, and I think we've done that. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you like the changes? Do you disagree with some of the changes? What would you do differently? I am always very excited to read your comments on these videos, so please put those in the comments below, of course. And if you want me to review your list, go ahead, join our community over on Patreon. Anyone can send me a list as long as they're one of my patrons. Doesn't matter what pledge level. So, as always, thanks for watching and happy wargaming.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our community over on Patreon. These are the people that really help drive the channel and make things happen. So special thanks to Shifty, Dallas Ellis, Jim Bob, Scott Heater, Nick Steele, Tao Oswald, Jackson, Stephen Cohen, Eric Jackson, Michael Byrne, Zealous Brimstone, Jared Egler, and Chris Kessler.